Well, thank you everybody for joining today. Today is Actified's second panel that we're doing as part of our Insiders in the Industry panels that we're going to be doing each week, talking to some pretty amazing people in the industry. And today we're talking with Tom Flanagan, right now CIO of the Group Inc. in Colorado, one of the most successful companies in the industry. And Tom himself has a pretty extensive history in the industry, working for some great companies like Alon Pennell and the Group. So we're excited to have him on today. And today's theme for today's panel is people-based marketing, something that is an important piece in today's market conditions, and no better person to talk about it than Tom. So Tom, appreciate you having you on. Can you give everybody a little bit of background about yourself and the group to kind of get us started here?
Yeah, my name's Tom Flanagan. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at the Group. Some may know me from Inman News. I was the technology columnist for half a decade at Inman. Others may know me through Leading RE. I'm the Chairman Emeritus for the Technology Advisory Council. And as I mentioned, I'm the CIO at the Group. I oversee marketing technology in relocation. And if you're not familiar with the group was founded by Larry Kendall in 1976. We are home to Ninja Selling, and we are the original Ninja Selling company in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Yeah, so extensive past yourself and the Group as a company, fantastic company. A lot of you probably know Ninja Selling. One of the premier sales strategies that you can be doing in this industry. So excited to have you on. So to kind of get us started, when you think about today's theme, people-based marketing, especially in today's market, what does that make you think of? How do you look at that when you're thinking about today's market?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think first and foremost, we're in a crisis. And I think our messaging, all digital marketing messaging should reflect that, right? And so I mean, email marketing, social media, blogging, video, all of it should be very thoughtful and mindful of the situation. I think that's what I'm thinking of most of today. And so we don't want to be tone deaf, right? I'm seeing a lot of content across all verticals from real estate agents and real estate brokerages across the United States that just don't seem to get it. And so I know for me and my team, that's our primary focus. We want to be informative. We want to educate. We want to uplift too, and certainly be realistic. And so what we're trying to do is just be thoughtful and be human and sort of deliver content that's timely and helpful. And if that means just saying we simply don't know, then we do that. We're honest and authentic approach to both online and offline marketing.
Yeah, I think the human aspect and during this time period seems to be a pretty consistent theme across the board, and how important that is right now. And something you even talked about, in getting assistance in doing this, how important it is to be mindful of companies that you're working for, third parties that you might be utilizing for content. What are some ways that people can make sure that the content they're putting out there is on target, has that human aspect to it, it is not tone deaf. I think that's a great way to kind of think about it is this something that is tone deaf, or is this something that, my audience will identify with and, I'm being informative with? What are some good strategies to make sure that you are staying on top of that?
Yeah, so I think you touched upon a couple of really important items there. And I think if automation is great, right? It makes our lives easier from a marketing and technology standpoint. It can be incredibly powerful, but it's a double-edged sword. So if you have a lot of automation going out and you're not proofing it, it could be tone deaf and it could be ill-timed. And so I always recommend that you're mindful of what's going out, you proof it, you're thoughtful, you understand what your back-end systems are generating and what they're doing. And if it's not timely and if it's not helpful, particularly during these circumstances, I would certainly stop that and just pause that general automation. And then in terms of working with vendors and third parties, I know a lot of people, the real estate industry is a connected industry. We're based on partners across the world, and we rely on each other for all sorts of platforms and marketing and technology and consulting and help. And so if you're working with a vendor, if you're working with a consultant, be on top of that stuff. Make sure that your messaging is on point, that it's helpful, that it's honest, it's authentic. Proof it. Take the time to do that. It'll make it different. I've seen, gosh, I'm sure we've all seen on this call plenty of things in the last few weeks, whether it be memes about toilet paper or, hand sanitizer or wipes and things like that. And we see a lot of people maybe poking fun or joking, and we don't want to be tone deaf to that. This is a crisis and people are dying. And so I think the brokerages that are thoughtful and helpful during this situation, this temporary disruption, even if they don't have all the answers, I mean, that's going to be a lasting effect. I don't think our society is going to be the same after this ordeal. And I think the brokers that navigated those waters professionally and thoughtfully are going to come out ahead.
Yeah, extremely important understanding your audience and what is something that people identify with, and what is something that not so much people are going to identify with. So I think it's extremely important. Now, what can you give us a little insights about what's happening right now in your market, and how is the group addressing it?
Yeah, so I'm sure many people on this call have very, similar circumstances. For us, what's really challenging is how fluid the information that's coming from the state versus the county. And so that is rules and regulations that are impacting showings, and whether they be open houses, personal showings, whatever the case may be, that seems to be changing hour by hour. And I'm sure everybody on this call has the same experience in their states and their communities. And so the governor of the state of Colorado last night just sort of banned all in-person showings. And so that's just another opportunity for us to pivot. And so, it's interesting. One of the things we did is when this crisis hit a few weeks ago, we noticed a huge spike in our video gallery. And so at the group, we have an in-house video team. We produce high definition videos through across all spaces. We do property tours, community videos, company videos. We love video. We think it's a great form factor, a great medium. And so one of the things that I quickly noticed is a huge spike in our video gallery and our views. However, I noticed that our retention rate was dropping dramatically after 45 seconds. And so property tours were typically on average about 2 minutes. And so looking at the analytics, looking at the data, there was a big drop off at 45 seconds. So that told me a couple of things. First and foremost, it told me that video is a powerful tool during this situation that we're all in. People want to see homes, they need to see homes, but they may not feel safe to go and view a home. And to be honest, it may not even be allowed in your state or your community at this point. So virtual showings and video and walkthroughs, huge spike in those analytics. And so what we ended up doing is looking at that data and looking at the attention span of our audience. We delivered a new product. We literally pivoted. We made a new product. We call them Quick Views. It's a digital walkthrough that our video producers film, and they're about 45 to 60 seconds, no more than 60 seconds. So they can be immediately encoded and rendered into our system, shared with potential clients and customers. They're distributed and published across all systems, including MLS, our website, our back offices, our intranet. And so that's been really successful. And so I think that was just one example of, looking at data, looking at what's happening in our marketplace right now and trying to adapt as fast as possible.
What you touch on there, I think, is so interesting, because right now, more than ever, is an opportunity for people to sit down and take a look at the things that you're sending them, which further reinforces the importance of that content being on point, correct tone, and informative, because more than ever, people are in front of their computers and can actually read it. But taking that a step further and actually being able to understand the analytics behind it, how are people interacting it, and pivoting from there, I think is so critical right now. Where I don't know if a lot of people are actually taking that extra step to do that. And I think that's a really good piece of advice right there. Is not only elevate the content that you're sending, but also understand the analytics and the results coming from it and pivot as needed.
Yeah, I can
Sure.
tell you, it's been interesting. Video has just been so significant for us. Our top 10 properties for the month, 8 of them have videos, and so that's an 80%, ratio. And so it's just been really fascinating to see, what media is being most consumed and viewed. I know the time on site for our platforms is just significantly increased, obvious for the obvious reasons. And it's just been interesting to see what the most attractive isn't the right word, but the most viewed, the most consumed properties, videos, price points. And so that's been really interesting.
Now, taking along that theme, taking understand the analytics and pivoting from there, understanding the data. Data comes into play with every facet of our business right now, but especially at this point in time when face to face has been eliminated and that more qualitative data is harder to get. How does an agent, how does a company utilize the data in front of them from all their different sources effectively during this time? You mentioned videos. Or other examples that you have?
Yeah, I mean, data is one thing, and there's certainly no shortage of data in the real estate industry. I think data analysis, what you do with that data and how you sort of analyze it, sift through it, and then make appropriate business decisions is even more important, right? And so it's interesting. We see, right now, our number one channel is Facebook. And you can certainly say what you want about Facebook. Some people love it, some people not so much. You can question their business practices, their platforms. But for us, it's been a huge channel. The amount of traffic that we're generating from Facebook has been quite impressive. In fact, we generate more referral traffic from Facebook than we do Zillow, Trulia, and Realtor.com combined. And so, and those are things like just listed ads, for example. And so it's been really interesting to see sort of that funnel of originating on Facebook, the local geographical information, and then coming over to our website, and then where that user, that consumer goes from there. And so, for example, and sort of tying that back to video, we've seen a lot of traffic come to our properties from Facebook onto the listing details page, then watching a video. And the time on site for a listing details page with a video, without a video, has been pretty significant as well. So with a video, it's just about 2 minutes average time on site on a listing details page. Without a video, close to 4 or 5 seconds. So a dramatic difference there. And so what we try to do is, look through the data, look through, just look through important indicators and KPIs, and then we try to really make a sort of layer that human behavior, that consumer behavior on top of it, because data by itself can be misleading, or you can interpret it wrong. And so we just try to stay mindful of, consumer behavior, what's happening in the current marketplace, and it's just been fascinating.
Yeah, very interesting how it's evolving right now and the different lead sources, but understanding, like you're talking about, time on page and how can you guide those views into something more usable is very interesting. Now, when we talk about, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, when we talk about, again, tone deafness, staying on message, consistency across the board, but also talking about automation and how difficult that is to do in a time period like this. Can you tell us a little bit about how you are all utilizing automation right now, whether it comes to the marketing or it comes to how you're managing leads? That would definitely be helpful as, we think about all the different ways to interact with people, automation definitely can make that easier, but also opens up that challenge of, is the human aspect still there?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's not easy. It's no easy task, particularly what your team looks like. Some brokerages are large and have a lot of staff and a lot of team members manning different systems and verticals, and some small brokerages and boutiques don't have that. So I certainly recognize it can be challenging to scale. I think some of the things, and I know this is not a webinar for active pipe, but I personally like active pipe. It's a great platform. One of the reasons that I like it so much, it's sort of like adding MLS with constant contact. One of the challenges realtors have is sort of, how can I use effective email marketing but actually add MLS feeds or properties, and active pipe makes that really easy. And so it also does a lot of really interesting automation things. So for instance, one of the pieces that we do is sending homes to contacts based on location. And so the ability to quickly drag and drop widgets for properties before the state and county just changed the open rules on and regulations on open houses and showings. A couple of weeks ago, we were doing, when it was still allowed, we were sending open house emails, and we were using the automated tools that ActivePipe has based on geographical location of that contact. And the information that we have in our CRM on that. And so that makes our jobs really easy, and that's effective marketing, right? And so we don't have to manually do that, or real estate agents don't really have to manually do that. And so that's just a couple of examples that we're doing. And so we're sort of looking at this in a high tech, high touch way. And so one of the things historically, the group was always sort of very print heavy. And so over the last couple of years, we tried to really strike a better balance of print and web. And so anything that we do in print, we also make available digitally as well. And that could be email marketing piece. So if we're doing some sort of COVID-19 update that's important to our sellers, we'll do a print piece and an email marketing piece. And having that scalability of the automation really makes our lives easier, because it helps us get those important messages out in a timely fashion. And so the way that process looks like is, our team, in collaboration with our president, will craft a message, making sure it's helpful, it's accurate, it's up to date, and then using the technology systems to deliver that as fast as possible to the appropriate people. That's where automation, I think, can win, and win big.
Yeah, the importance of, again, making it personal and yet having the ability to automate is crucial, because you have then the ease of use, but also you have the human personal side of it, which is so important during a time like this. Now, so one of the themes that I think is really interesting is there's a lot of changes going on in the industry right now, of course, in response to uh, a downturn, the virus, and the challenges that that represents. And so you're seeing a lot of changes when it comes to digital open houses. You talking about how you're changing videos because you notice it has a high click-through rate, but not a long. People are not staying on the video for a long time. So changing how you do that. How many of the things that you're seeing right now, these changes you're seeing right now, do you think will actually continue through after this time? How do you see the way people are doing business in this industry, not just changing in this moment, but what of those things do you think will continue on and actually change in the industry long term? I know it's
Yeah,
a bigger question.
yeah, it's a fun one to sort of look. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, and so I don't have any definitive answers, but I can just share with you my thoughts. I think on the brokerage side, so I work for a real estate brokerage, and I'm not a selling real estate agent, but what I can see on the brokerage side is, I think the mentality of office space will change from this point forth. And so we moved 3 weeks ago, we moved our entire support staff, marketing, technology, relocation, our assistants, escrow, all of our departments to remote. And so everybody's working from home. And once you see that that can actually work, I think, that's going to be something I think that gets sort of weaved into the fabric of our industry going forward. And I know a lot of brokerages probably on this phone call already do that. And there's obviously notable brokerages in the industry. EXP certainly comes to mind. And, a lot of independent real estate agents use shared space and WeWork and platforms like that. But a lot of independent real estate company and traditional real estate companies still have a lot of office space in a lot of buildings. And I think that remote work and that the age old brick and mortar question, I think that's going to change. So I really see sort of how office space going forward in the future. I can definitely see that changing. I can see a lot of workflow changing. I know that, I think that principals will certainly be more open to hiring remote workers. Particularly, this is a great test for remote work. And so I actually recently went back and read Remote by Jason Fried and 37 Signals. It's a great book by the Basecamp founders. Highly recommend that book if you haven't read it before. And so just really just a great, timely book. And so I think that's one element. Certainly office space will be impacted. Then in terms of digital media or marketing, I think there's going to be some changes there too. Remember, just when we get the okay to go back to work, I think there's going to be a little bit of a slow turn there. And so I think, some clients will actually prefer to have some digital showings. The new Facebook Live upgrades and has some great features for scheduling digital open houses. There's a lot of great cross-platform apps that do that. And so I think open houses, I know they've been sort of a polarizing topic for the last few years, but you could see some changes in open houses and virtual tours and certainly relocation. And so just off the top of my head, again, just to reiterate, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think office space, office buildings, relocation, and some digital media is, I think, going to be with us into the future as we sort of pivot out of this.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. I think as the consumer starts realizing how they can, consume media a little bit differently, and especially when it comes to seeing homes and being a little more comfortable, possibly having that interaction fully digital, it'll be interesting to see if that holds on through after this time period. I do want to. We're going to leave time now if there's questions that are coming up. If anybody has a question for Tom. Someone was asking, can you say the name of that author again for the book, Remote?
Sure. The name of the book is Remote, and the author is Jason Fried, Fried. He's the founder of Basecamp, the project management application, and they have the company puts out a great books. Rework is their first book. That's fantastic. I highly recommend it. But the name of the book is Remote by Jason Fried, the co-founder of 37 Signals / Basecamp.
Awesome. While we're on that topic, any other books you think, of course, other than Ninja Selling, any other books you think would be great for people to read right now, or something you're reading right now that you think is has a particular relevant to this time?
Yeah, well, Ninja Selling's a great book, and Larry did a great job with that. And if you're not familiar with Ninja Selling, it really is a great fit for this topic because it is a platform based on relationships and referrals, and really truly being a good human being and curating those relationships. Ninja Selling is a great book. Again, Remote, I just revisited that one. It's great. And then it made me think of their first book, Rework, which has a lot of great information as well. So those are three good ones I recommend.
Awesome. While we're on the topic of Ninja Selling, I personally have read that book multiple times. I think it's a great platform, a great mindset. From your perspective, what do you think during this time period a Ninja Selling agent is doing versus the average agent, during this period of time?
Well, I work with 250 of those Ninja Selling agents, so
Maybe
I
maybe
can
you got a couple ideas.
Yeah, I can tell you it's mindset, right? So our sales associates don't have a victim mentality. They're waking up every single day. They're exercising they're taking a shower, they're getting dressed, they're conducting business remotely, they're in suit and ties, and they're just really staying focused, and they're seeing lots of opportunity. You know, if business in a transaction is slow because of the current circumstances, they're really focused on their CRM and updating their database, which is critical, which is the foundation of ninja selling. So they're really focused on their database. It's a great opportunity for them. A lot of our partners, and I say partners because the group is an employee-owned company owned by the staff and real estate agents, and so they're really focused on their sphere of influence and reaching out to their clients, and they're asking to help. You know, that could be, a variety of ways, and if they can't specifically help, they're trying to direct that person to the appropriate expert or professional. And so they're just really focused on the opportunity and sort of just working through this. And they feel their mindset is, a lot of real estate agents have been through the subprime crises, they've been through the recession, they've been in the business for a long time, and they always seem to come out stronger. And so they're embracing it.
Definitely agree. I think more now than ever, one of the things that Ninja talks about is the importance of mindset, especially when your daily life has been completely upended with how staying at home, and now the importance of routine and creating that mindset, that positive mindset. I think is such a ninja selling idea that now more than ever is important. When your routines and everything have been completely changed. So I'm sure that's definitely helping a lot of the ninja agents right now.
Mhm.
Um, One of the Cindy's asking an interesting question here when we're talking about becoming more and more virtual. Asking, is there a danger to encouraging clients to do more virtual real estate, and following up with, how does this affect the necessity of an agent, how an agent plays a role here. So this comes up often, I think, especially as the industry has changed over time, but maybe now more than ever, as everything is becoming more digital and virtual, the role of an agent, how that's changing, and how that doesn't necessarily mean it's phasing out of the role of an agent, but how that role might be evolving right now. I think it is an important thing to talk about.
Yeah, and it's a great question, and a lot of people have been debating this for some time now. I can tell you I'm a technologist. I graduated from the New England Institute of Technology. I worked in Silicon Valley for a handful of years, and I just recently purchased my house in Fort Collins at the end of the year, and I certainly used
Congrats.
a real estate agent. I just, there's a reason why real estate agents are more important than ever. And if you just, Aaron, you were mentioning data. If you look at data now, on a steady incline, more and more people are using real estate professionals every single year. And so, and I think you see in a lot of marketplaces, even FISBO is declining. And, I also think this crisis is going to impact iBuying as well. And so, which is directly tied to the economy and other economic variables. And so I have faith in real estate professionals. Real estate professionals are my favorite people in the world. They serve a an incredible need, and I don't think technology is certainly not going to replace them anytime soon. And I think the real estate agent who embraces this, is going to win, right? If you're a real estate agent who can offer an in-person open house or still have the same skill level to accommodate the seller that wants to use Facebook Live or Zoom or FaceTime, that's just another tool in your toolbox. I have faith in my fellow real estate agents.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And as someone who works in the technology space in real estate, I would say our mindset is definitely about how do we make an agent more effective, not how do we replace an agent, because I don't think anybody sees that as something that is good for the industry or good for the consumer. It's about how do we help agents become better at what they do, and free their time up. And I think, that's such an important thing to understand now as things become more digital and virtual, is understanding, okay, what are the technologies you're utilizing make you better at what you're doing. But the average consumer right now, I think more than ever also grasps to the agents that they know, the personal contacts that they're having, the human one-to-one contact, because that's going away with everybody having to stay home. And so, when it comes to the uncertainty in the market, reaching out a hand and getting advice and having that personal contact, I think is extremely important. So, to Cindy's question, I think you answered it perfectly. I think we're up on time there, Tom. This has been extremely interesting conversation. Really appreciate you coming on and
My
offering your
pleasure.
unique perspective here. Just to kind of end, what's your favorite thing to do right now while you're being quarantined and isolated?
You know, I think you know this, Aaron. My wife is a nurse and a first responder, but we're hanging in there. And so, again, you know, I work for a ninja company. So what I do is I try to keep to my routine, and I have a spin bike downstairs that I utilize every morning, and that's been a lifesaver. So, you know, I love biking, and so I live in Colorado, and so having that spin bike is really just it's been a lifesaver these last few weeks.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Me just going up the stairs has been my exercise, so maybe I should consider it like too. It's been great to having you. Good luck with everything, and good luck to the wife. Appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you guys so much. This is a lot of fun. Great questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Great talking with you.